What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Contested NBA podcast. I am your solo host for today, Ethan Cope. A few weeks ago, I'm just going to get this out of the way in the first couple of minutes. A few weeks ago, we said we would be starting the solo podcast weekly. That's probably not going to happen. It's probably going to be bi-weekly or every other week, just because me and Alex's schedules aren't, we don't have that much time available. If we could, we would. But anyways, yeah, I couldn't get my podcast out a couple weeks ago because sorry, I was having technical difficulties. I couldn't get my podcast out a couple weeks ago because I was having technical difficulties with my PC. Um, you know how that goes if you have a PC. Anyways, this format that I'm going to use for my solo podcast is going to be different because usually we record on Zoom calls. However, um, I have my own PC, but Alex and Max don't have the I guess technology or like the equipment that I have. Um, so mine is gonna be better quality, but that doesn't mean like don't go listen to Alex or Max, obviously, because they still put in a lot of work for this podcast. So, anyways, let's jump right into it. So for today, we're at the All Star break. Today's March 6th, 2021, and we are at the NBA All Star break in Indiana. So I'm gonna go over the top four teams of the Eastern Conference. If you guys saw the last one, I can't remember if it was the last podcast. I think it was the last podcast that Max, Alex, and I all did. Um, Alex will be going over when we do these solo podcasts. Alex will be going over the Western Conference. He's a Clippers fan. He can cover that whole conference, and I'm a Celtics fan, so I'll be covering the whole Eastern Conference. If you know, Max's schedule is really tight right now, so he's not going to be doing these solo podcasts, and he probably won't be in most of the quote unquote group project or group podcasts. But anyways, I've been talking long enough. Let's get straight into it. I'm gonna start with my team because if you guys have watched this NBA season, you would know the Celtics have been really, really. I don't want to say disappointing, but they've been underperforming, and I did say at the beginning of the year that they would have a rough start to the year, and I think they would start off slow, but not this slow. Um, I will say, I think heading into the break with a 4-0 record this past week is great. They grinded out some good games. Jason Tatum has picked it up recently. I don't know why, but the past couple weeks, Tatum has done this like thing like every other game where he doesn't really like contribute until the fourth quarter, which is whatever. But hopefully in the second half, Jaylen Brown, Kemba, and Jason Tatum really need to start playing more consistently if they're gonna get anything done. If they're gonna compete, if they're gonna try and make the Eastern Conference Finals or the Finals, I mean that's a long shot with what the Nets got going on right now and how the Sixers have been playing, how the Bucks have been, or the Bucks roster right now. But anyways, 4-0 record this past week. I think that's a really good look going into the All Star break, and they do, I would say, definitely need to make a move going to the deadline. So I really strongly think I think their most important part that they need to improve is their bench. I think they have absolutely no consistency from their bench. I think you've got Peyton Pritchard, who was a steal this year. Aaron, oh, I would get into Aaron Neesmith. I don't know why Brad Stevens keeps putting out that lineup of Tice and Tristan Thompson. It clearly doesn't work that well. But the trade deadline is soon. I can't remember exactly what day it is. I think it's like March 25th. I could be wrong. But I think they really need to look into getting a backup wing to kind of fill that role that Gordon Hayward had. I mean, obviously, I don't think there are any wings available that are as good as Gordon Hayward. So, you're not going to find someone of that caliber. But I think someone who's really realistic is Harrison Barnes, has been in a lot of trade talks, even especially with the Celtics. And then yeah, I would look to move. I would look to move like a lot of people. I think Tice could be gone. I think Grant Williams could be gone. Romeo Langford, who's barely played at all. Jeff Teague. Um, I think looking for a big man could also really help. I mean, I still think that's their biggest problem is not having that big man, because, Tristan Thompson I think has been solid. If you watch him play, like he really does like I know it's like cliche to say, but he really does like try out there, and he's a great offensive rebounder. He's good in the pick and roll. It's just the defense, like against elite big men, is just not enough. And when you're facing Giannis, Embiid, you can only limit them so much. Like you're not going to completely stop them. They're still going to eat. They're still going to get theirs every game, but you do need someone to somewhat contain that. And I think acquiring someone like maybe I want to say like realistically, I think Drummond and John Collins are options. I think some long shots are including like wing players. I think Oladipo is a long shot, but it's still a possibility, still out there. And I think Nikola Vucevic is out there. I think it's a long shot, but I don't think it's unrealistic. Um, so I think those are two things that they could, or two players that they could really use to, God, what's the word? Oh, improve their team. Right. Anyways, um, yeah, I think that's what the Celtics need to do before the trade deadline. I think a second half goal for them is just finishing strong and consistent as a top four seed heading into the playoffs. I think once they fall out of that top four seed, they start getting into dangerous territory. And I know right now they would play the Knicks in the playoffs, and I like what the Knicks have done this year for sure. But they're not winning a playoff series. I just don't see if Julius Randle, which has been great. This is no disrespect, but if Julius Randle is your best player on your team, you're not going anywhere in the playoffs. I'm sorry, it's just not happening. You just can't let it happen. But especially like with like the whole like that whole roster is so inexperienced, especially in the playoffs. And you got Coach Thibodeau, but yeah, I think locking up that top four seed will put them in a good position to win that first round and at least like compete and maybe take a series to like 7 games in the second round, maybe go back to the Eastern Conference Finals. Um, I think one thing that Brad Stevens really needs to work on is looking into giving Neesmith and Robert Williams significant minutes, like 22 to 25 minutes per game. Robert Williams, last time I checked, the status probably changed by now, but like last week their offensive rating is plus 56 when Robert Williams is on the floor. He's such a solid defender. He's big. He has a huge wingspan. Um, yeah, I've been an advocate for Robert Williams for so long, but clearly Brad Stevens hasn't listened to me. And I think Aaron Neesmith, if you give him minutes, he's a great shooter. He shot 52% on 8 threes last year in college. I think really like he could be that backup wing, but Brad Stevens needs to give them like consistent, significant minutes. And he can't keep rolling off this lineup with Tristan Thompson and Tice. And I even think it could go as far as starting Robert Williams so that so that the team doesn't get off the bad starts like they normally do. But, anyways, I guess we'll see. And like I said earlier, the big three of Kemba, Brown, and Tatum, they really need to pick it up in the second half of the year. Jaylen Brown and Tatum have been great, but, Tatum's missed time, and ever since he's come back with COVID, his shot has been really inconsistent. Kemba, he's been inconsistent as well. And it's unfortunate because I really like Kemba, but I could also see him being moved at the deadline. And yeah, Jaylen Brown has slowed down recently, which sucks because I still really like how Jaylen Brown has played this year. And don't let anyone tell you he doesn't deserve to be an all-star because I've had friends tell me that. I'm not with that awful take. But yeah, I like the direction that they're going, especially 4-0 heading into the deadline. All right, on to the Nets. This one's going to be short because if you watch the Nets, there's nothing really much to complain about anymore. I think it would still be ideal for them to sign a big like Drummond. Blake Griffin has, been a huge name in talks right now. And, Blake isn't going to like be that big man that gets you like 11, 12 boards a game like probably Drummond would. But, I still think maybe if you can find a rejuvenated Blake Griffin, then, I think it's kind of wraps, at least in the Eastern Conference. I don't think their big three meshing is a concern anymore. I know, like, when the Harden trade first happened, there was all the questions like, oh, how are they going to play together? It's all three ball dominant guys. But now you've seen Harden and what he's done, and he's become a fantastic facilitator. I mean, he's like his game. It's crazy to think because Harden was like an MVP 3 years ago. Was it three? Something like that. Yeah, 3 years ago. And, um, you thought, this is probably Harden's peak, but I feel like he's even taking his game to another level, especially with KD out. Like, he's still been able to pick up the slack. If you guys watched the game a couple weeks ago against the Suns, I mean, it's just, he's like, he's proven that he wants to win, and he has like a different drive in him, I feel like, since coming to the Nets and having that new opportunity. Kyrie Irving has had the best year of his career, which I didn't think would happen. I didn't think Kyrie and Harden could get better. Um, once KD is healthy, I just, even if they don't make a move at the deadline, I still think they're the favorites, and I don't think anyone in the East is competing with them. I know the Sixers have been great this year, and they hold the one spot right now, but I just, you can let Embiid get his, 30 and 15 every game. Or 1 second. You can let Embiid get his 30 and 15 every game, but there's not going to be. You can let Embiid get his 30 and 15 every game, but there's not going to be anyone to stop Kevin Durant, Harden, and Kyrie Irving. And I know Ben Simmons is a great defender, but he can only guard one of them at a time. And I think if you put him on KD, I don't think he's doing anything against KD. I think Kevin Durant is just a different breed. Um, so yeah, I think their second half goal should probably just be try and finish first and lock up that home court advantage. I'm pretty sure fans will be back for the playoffs. So, um, the Sixers are a great team at home. So I think for the Nets, that's probably their biggest concern is having to try and face, that Philly crowd and that team at home. Um, but yeah, they look great. I have no concerns about them anymore, unless you know, knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen. But like if an injury occurs. And speaking of that, let's get into the Sixers because I said before this year, and I hate the 76ers so like easily my least favorite team in the league as a Celtics fan. But I did say before this season, I think the Sixers are going to be really, really good. Now, I didn't expect them to be this good, but I did expect them to be the 3 seed, and all my friends thought I was crazy for that. So, um, yeah, I think Doc Rivers has his team in a great place. You got, Embiid is the MVP. If you think anyone else is MVP right now, then I don't know what to tell you because you're just wrong. But he's averaging 30 points, 12 boards. He's shooting 50, 42, 85, and very interesting stat, especially as a big man. He could be the first player to shoot if he maintains these numbers. He's gonna be the first player to shoot 50% from the field and 40% from three, while averaging 30 points per game since Curry's unanimous MVP. And I think right now Embiid is the MVP. I like I you know I LeBron has somewhat of a case, but like with AD out, the Lakers have struggled a lot. I think Jokic would have a better case if the Nuggets weren't underperforming like they were. I think the Nuggets are kind of in the same situation that the Celtics are. Um, but Simmons is having a great year. I mean, I would say he's got to be like top two in defensive player of the year, like him and Gobert up there. Tobias Harris has had a career year. Um, Toby plays great under Doc Rivers, and Ben. Although I'm a huge critic of Ben Simmons, but he has definitely improved offensively in a sense. Like he's been more aggressive, so I think that helps a lot, and um, that helps him like with like scoring a lot. But Ben Simmons is never gonna live up to his potential if he can never find like an offensive game again where he's taking jump shots outside of 5 feet. Sorry, excuse me, Jesus. Um, I still think they need to improve their bench. Um, their bench is pretty abysmal at times. I don't know what's been going on, like why Matisse Thybulle hasn't been getting more minutes. I don't know why they don't give um what's his name? Oh my god. Tyrese Maxey. There we go. Um Tyrese Maxey I think should be getting more minutes, but it looks like the Sixers are going to try and acquire someone at the deadline. Like, Kyle Lowry's been a huge name with the 76ers, and he just sold his home in Toronto. So I would assume he's on the move by the deadline. Um, you got to trade people like Furkan Korkmaz, like, shouldn't be getting minutes. I think he's a decent role player, I guess, off the bench, but you can't be taking minutes away from players like Dybul and Maxi, even though I think Dybul is going to be a big name. And if the Sixers do make a trade, then Dybul is going to be involved. Um, but yeah, I think trading for Kyle Lowry and then improving their bench really puts them over the top of the deadline. I think improving their bench could be as easy as like trading a second rounder for like PJ Tucker would be a great piece for the Sixers. Or who else is available? Maybe like another shooter like Eric Gordon from the Rockets. Um, PJ Tucker is on the Rockets as well. But either way, um, yeah, I think that's what they should do before the deadline. If they really want to solidify their chances as being of winning a championship. And I think their second half goal of the year is the same as the Nets, but I think they need to be more urgent about getting that first seed. The Nets have proven they can play on the road. I think they're 11-7 on the road right now, so they're not too bad. Most teams are worse on the road at home, especially in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if that like does anything or means anything, but um, they really, I think, if they don't lock up that first seed, then they're in trouble a little bit. Um, they play very average away from home as a team, but when they are home, they look great. And so yeah, I think they have the same second half goal as the Nets. And yeah, I mean the Sixers look great this year. I think I don't think anyone expected them to play this well, but they are playing this well. And I'm not completely shocked if I'm going to be honest. I feel like the moves they made this offseason, Daryl Morey's done a great job already. I know Sixers fans love him. And yeah, the Sixers look good. All right, so let's get on to the Bucks, which is the last team I'm gonna kind of go in depth with. Um, Now I'm gonna be honest, I see the Bucks like every once in a while. I don't really have a way of watching like local games or anything. So I see them when they're on national TV. Being from LA, you're obviously not going to see many Bucks games unless they're playing the Clippers or Lakers. But anyways, um, I think what they lack most is consistency. I think there's times, and I think their struggles somewhat equate with the um, what's it called, the Celtics, and I think there's just a lack of urgency and consistency from the team. I think Giannis has picked it up like a ton recently. I think he's averaging like 29, 12, and 6. Similar, like slightly lower numbers than his MVP season last year. Um, yeah, it's just I think Chris Middleton has still been really good. I think Drew Holiday, after missing that time and coming back, like there's just something missing, and I don't like I can't like put a finger on it, which is weird. I just don't know what they're missing. Like that'll really take them over the top to because I mean if they don't at least like I want to say if they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals this year, Giannis might be gone next offseason. Budenholzer's definitely gone next offseason. I just don't know how long Giannis is going to stick around. And I know he signed that contract extension this offseason, but excuse me. Um, I know they signed that contract extension, or he signed this contract extension this offseason, but I think Mike Budenholzer's voice might be getting stale in that locker room. And I've had this talk with Alex about Brad Stevens as well, because they've been there for so long. And it kind of happened last year with Brett Brown, um, where, you're there for like the rebuild and everything. And, you get your team into a good place, but then the voice gets stale in the locker room after a while. And it could be a problem. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if it is a problem. I'm obviously not there to say whether it is or not. But yeah, I just think there's something missing, and I don't really know what exactly it is. I think the one move that they really need to make before the deadline is acquire a wing, like a backup wing to come off the bench, or like even like as good as like a wing that could be like your sixth man. Um, I like what they have going. I like their guards. DiVincenzo, Bryn Forbes. Is it? I don't know what his name is. Brett Forbes. I don't know. DJ Augustine. I think they got some solid guards off the bench. I think Bobby Portis has been great off the bench. Um, you got Brooke Lopez. I just think like their next their next wing like in their rotation is Jordan Nwora, and I feel like that's enough said. I don't know. They're just missing that one piece off the bench, and then I feel like they can really really compete. But yeah, like I said, I don't know. There's something missing, and I don't think like getting a player like I literally contradicting myself, but I don't think getting a player off the for the bench is really going to put them over the top. I think they need to find that urgency and consistency if they want to compete. Like I mean, obviously, they're trying to win a ring, but um, yeah, they just don't seem as urgent as like recent years because they've like I don't know, maybe like they're just saving it for the playoffs because they've been a great regular season team and then they've kind of let down in the playoffs. Like last year, they had like a complete meltdown against the Heat. The year before, they went up 2-0 on the Raptors and then lost 4 games straight. But I think their second half goal for them is to finish strong and find that urgency and consistency and finish as a top 2 seed, which I will say they've also been struggling on the road like the Sixers have. I think they're both below 500 on the road, which is, contenders don't go below 500 on the road. It's just not a thing. Now, I'm not saying they aren't, but, you know, pick it up. As for the rest of the East, I think the Raptors and Heat have picked up play recently. However, I do think the Raptors will be sellers at the deadline. And I think, it looks like Kyle Lowry's on his way out. So I don't even think the Raptors. I'm trying to think. I think the Raptors could make the play-in tourney, but I don't even know if they're going to win that play-in tourney. As it looks right now, like I just said, Kyle Lowry's probably on the move. They're probably just going to look to rebuild, and which sucks because they won a championship 2 years ago, but they kind of just like sold their soul for it by trading DeRozan and then getting Kawhi. I mean, it worked out. They won a ring, but like now they're kind of in that position where Kyle Lowry's on his way out. Maybe even Siakam is moved in the offseason or something. I don't know. But then you're stuck with your two best players being Siakam and Fred VanVleet. And, this past offseason, Ibaka and Marcus Gasol left. I think they're just in a rebuilding mode. So, they were I think they were the 4th seed last year. Or no. The Raptors were the 2nd seed last year. Yeah, they were. So yeah, they're. I don't really think. I think the Heat are definitely buyers at the deadline, and I think they could definitely improve. I still think they're gonna finish as like a top 5 team. Probably that 5th seed is like 5th or 6th seeds that a good place for them. Depending on how the Knicks play. Speaking of, I think the Knicks look great. I think Coach Tibbs has totally changed the culture and the atmosphere in that Knicks locker room. Something they've been missing a year, and I think he's done a great job with Julius Randle. I think the Hawks seem to be sellers at the deadline, which is disappointing because I'm pretty sure I had them as like a 6th seed going into the year. And, they've had a bunch of injuries, and they fired their coach at like a couple of weeks ago or last week. And it's definitely been a disappointing year. I think Trey has regressed slightly. Um, I think John Collins is probably on his way out. Capella could be moved. So I don't know. Rondo hasn't fit in like I thought he would. I think the Hawks have had a really like disappointing season. They can still make the playoffs, and I still think like if the season ended, they'd be in the play-in tourney. But I don't even know if they're winning that play-in tourney. So yeah, I would say the Hawks seem to be on kind of a decline. Speaking of, I think the Pacers are also kind of on a decline. They traded Depot only to find out that Levert had that mass on his kidney. I think prayers up to him. I'm glad he's doing okay. Um, but they kind of just traded Depot, and then now they have no one back for this year. So it's kind of just been like, and TJ Warren has been injured, so it's kind of just been Brogdon and Sabonis out there like trying to save the day every time they play. So I think the Pacers are kind of just nobody's. Damn, that was mean. I'm just, I couldn't find a better word for it. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Pacers are kind of in the same position as the Hawks. Um, I think the Wizards have picked it up recently. I could definitely see them winning that play-in tourney. Um, you know, they're probably bounced in the first round, assuming they'll play the Sixers or Nets. But Bradley Beal has been phenomenal. I think Westbrook has picked up his play recently as too. I think he's been like pretty efficient. That Thomas Bryant injury earlier in the year sucked, but and one point I wanted to add about the Sixers is I don't think Bradley Beal is getting moved at the deadline. I would actually be pretty surprised if Bradley Beal got moved at this point, especially the Wizards are kind of like on the come up. Um, they've been playing a lot better recently. I think Billy Donovan has done a great job with the Bulls. Now they're not doing as well as the Knicks, but I also think Billy Donovan has had a lot less to work with. They both have their number one in Julius Randle, and the Bulls have Zach LaVine, who's been great. Glad to see he can finally make a freaking All-Star game. So yeah, I think he's put them in a really solid position to secure a spot in the play-in tournament. I know LaVine's name was kind of thrown around like at the beginning of the year. I think that's out the window for sure. And then you got the last three teams: the Cavs, Magic, and Pistons. Probably all sellers at the deadline. I think the only person that's really safe on the roster is like on any of those rosters is really I think the Cavs will keep like Garland and Sexton and Jared Allen. And then, Drummond looks to be on the move. Larry Nance, Kevin Love, probably all gone. Pistons, everyone's probably... I mean, they just bought out Blake Griffin and they traded Derrick Rose earlier. So they really just got, like, Jeremy Grant left. And then the Magic might move Vucevic, but the rest of their team is just so bad that they're just not, Yeah, so that's going to wrap it up. That's basically where the Eastern Conference is sitting at the deadline. Where I think we're exactly like halfway through the year. I'm pretty sure like each team has played around I think 36 to 37 games, and the regular season this year is going to be 72. So we're really like exactly around the halfway point, which usually doesn't happen at the deadline. But yeah, oh, I forgot to mention, completely disrespectful to Hornets fans, but LaMelo Ball is Rookie of the Year. If you think otherwise, then you haven't been watching basketball. And I know we got a ton of hype at the beginning of the year, but I think he's even exceeded those expectations. And he's been phenomenal. Gordon Hayward looks great. I'm really happy for him as a Celtics fan. I wish we could have kept him, but he clearly needed like a new start somewhere. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it. Is there anything else? No. I think that's going to do it. That's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Man. Wow, I completely lost my train of thought. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to go follow us. There we go. God damn. Make sure to go follow us on Apple and Spotify. We're also available there. If you just look up like Contested Sports Podcast, will be there. All of our links to me, Max, and Alex's me, Max, and Alex's socials will be in the description. I don't know if Max still does it, but I think he has posted some like basketball TikToks, has kind of started getting something going. I literally just got that page going yesterday. So if you guys want to follow my TikTok and the rest of the social medias, the links will be in the description. So yeah, that's gonna do it for today. You guys will probably be watching Alex's episode at the same time this comes out. So that's gonna do it for me. If you guys have anything you disagree with us on, go ahead and contest it. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.